Hello, everyone. Welcome to What the Tech is Product Management, episode number 8. This time I have Aditya Bandi, a really close friend of mine from my undergrad days. Shruti won't be joining us today, but let's get started with an exciting round of introductions. Mine is not so interesting because you have heard it many times. I'm Nishant. I'm a PM at Walmart. I work on ad tech. But after you, Adi.
Hey, Nishan, thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. Yeah, no, I can give a quick 30 seconds intro. I work as a PM on Yahoo Mail. Before this, I did my own startup, and that was acquired by Yahoo, and that's how I ended up at Yahoo. And then I moved to the US, and then so far, building exciting features for Yahoo Mail users. Yeah, that's my journey.
Brilliant, brilliant. So let's get started with your startup first. For context, again, Adi was in design during his BTech, and then he moved on to building his own product. So, Adi, can you give us a quick overview of what the product was, and then we can dive deeper into how you ended up with it and what led to your first customer and how it got acquired, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my first startup was around making life easy around documents.
Okay.
So, it started with a personal problem. I was using a Windows machine at work. I was using a Mac for my personal laptop, and
Mhm.
there was a document compatibility issues that I was facing pretty much. I used to, let's say, write something on my work laptop. Let's say it's a resume or something, and then I wanted to get it on my personal laptop. I didn't have Word software on my personal laptop, so suddenly I can't use that document anymore. um, of course, there were pages and all of that, but it didn't really translate it that well. So if you open a Word document in Pages, this was like back in 2011.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there was a lot of these issues. So I was like, let's see if I can build something there. So that's how it started. A lot of first time entrepreneurs go through that. They pick a personal problem. They don't think too much about the market or anything, and they just start building. You're excited about building.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was doing that.
Makes sense. And for context, at that point, was there like something like a Google Docs, or the world did not exist?
Yeah, no, Google Docs, Google Drive existed, but let's say you uploaded a Word document on Google Drive, you can't edit it at that point.
Oh.
So the way you see Google Drive now, it is essentially Google acquired a bunch of like 6 to 7 startups that had all of these different features. Like, you can render documents really well, you can edit documents really well, you can collaborate. So back in 2011, nothing. You can store something, you can view something. You want to start editing it. It's really, I mean, not great at all.
Makes sense. And in the sense, like your solution was going to help people, I'm guessing a plugin or like some sort of a software that would allow you to
Yeah,
access docs in wherever you are.
yeah, that's how it started. Exactly, that's how it started. Like I was like, with no prior experience of building products, I was like, okay, you know what? I'll build something that you can store documents. Any document will open.
Okay.
No restrictions, free. Just very high level forward requirements, very broad requirements. But then once I started building, I realized, hey, this is not easy at all. This is really, really hard. Just because the first thing we did was to open up these documents. Like, if you actually open up a Word document, or you go see what's inside a PDF document, the code that is actually making that file,
Hmm.
it's very, very complex. PDF is 1980s format, right? Like, and it's been, even though you're using the latest version, it's
Yeah.
all built upon this old complex way of viewing documents. Same with Word,
Gotcha.
same with Excel. So it's not meant for internet. They're not like internet ready file
Okay.
types. They're really old, made for a certain software, made in a different era. So
Hmm.
yeah, when we started opening these up and saying, like, how do we render this on a web page? So I realized it once we started working on it.
Okay.
That's how the team was built. Like, we went after people. Like, we realized we need someone really good at the back end. We realized we needed someone really good at the front end who can render things,
Got
who can help build something, something that like a viewer. So yeah, that's how the initial team was also built. Like,
got
and then the problem, and we had a pivot. We were like, hey, no, okay, so let's say you build it. What's your What's your business? How
Mhm.
do you compete with existing competitors?
So let's slow down a little bit. So initially, you had an idea, and then
Hmm.
you're like, okay, I have a prototype in my mind. I want it to work this way.
Correct.
And then as you started working on it by yourself, or like maybe you partnered with someone, you started realizing this is like a little bit more complex in terms of a technical challenge. And then how did you find your founding partners or like just people to tackle this problem together?
Yeah, I started looking at people around me, people who I know. I started reaching out. Hey, so this is something I'm working on.
Hmm.
Would you be interested to work on this? So I reached out to folks at IIT Guwahati as well because that's where we studied, right?
Yeah.
So spoke to 15 to 20 people. I was pitching, the problem statement and the solution to them. Like, hey, would this interest you?
Okay.
And someone connected me to someone else, and that's how I found my first co-founder. He was his name is Ashwik. He was still in second year at college,
Okay. Okay.
and he's excited, he's interested, and he can write code. That's it. That's all I looked for, and then we started working together. Once we started working together, 6 months into it, we realized, okay, no, this is not happening just between two of us. This is way more complex than we thought. Then we started looking for someone who can help with the backend and understanding these file types. You need to break them up. You need to uh, transform them into something that we can display on the HTML
Got it.
web page. So
So
so yeah,
was your
so we went.
still the same at this point where like initially it was all viewing formats inside a browser, but did that change over time to say, okay, let me just focus on Word for now, or did you keep going on with all the extensions?
Yeah, no, I think we took. I think there was this. I think we looked at it as a tech problem. We didn't really think of it as a product yet at this
Okay,
point.
okay, got
We
it.
were like, hey, you have a document format. You have to show
Mhm.
it on a web page. Now there is a gap there. How do we build this bridge?
Makes
So we viewed it as a tech. I mean, we were like, okay, if we solve this, we'll easily build the product. That was our thinking. We really didn't think
got
about
it.
much about like the market. Uh, Ideally you should, but I was
Mm.
22. I was working with Ashwik, who was 19 at that time. So
Gotcha.
we really, we were just happy, like we are working on something. So I used to come back from work at 5:36 in the evening, then
Mhm.
from 6:37 till 12 in the night, sitting on a beanbag and just doing this. This
Got
is it's 5 6 days a week for almost 6 7 months before realizing, okay, this is complex.
got it. So yeah, like you solved the tech problem. Let's say you founded the right team. You were solving it in stages, I would imagine. So what was your thought process from solving a technical problem to making it a business solution?
Yeah. So I think somewhere around, so we started working on this, me and Ashwik, 2011, August, September, around that time frame.
Okay.
Around 2012, March, April is when the third co-founder came in. Till then,
Okay.
again, we were still like, hey, let's solve this. Once we solve this, it'll be a B2C product, a consumer product. That's why we call it Bookpire. It's like it's like you can come and read anything.
Sure.
That's how we thought about it. Again, we didn't delve too much into like, okay, what's the market, what's the competition, how do we make money? It was
Okay.
more like, okay, we know where we want to go. Let's keep it aside. Let's solve this
Mhm.
problem. Uh, and once we are closer to solving, like, okay, we had a prototype, things are working. Then we started like, okay, how do we like what do we do now? How do we make a product out of it? At that
Okay.
point in time, we started pitching to accelerators in India. And it's a coincidence, I should say. I moved to Pune. This was 2012, October, around that time. I ran into an IIT Guwahati alumni called Nishant Mungali.
Okay.
He's a co-founder at Mindtickle.
Hmm.
So Mindtickle is now, a unicorn startup where employs more than 10,000 people.
Mhm.
Really big company, very good, very amazing success story coming out of IIT Guwahati. Not many people know about this. So Nishant currently is the chief product officer at Mindtickle, co-founder and chief CPO.
Okay.
I met him in Pune around that time, and they were at that time. Mindtickle was 5 people or 6 people working out of a villa in Pune.
Okay.
And they were building a HR gamification tool. Like, you have these um, mandatory onboarding courses that you have to take when you join a company.
Okay.
They gamify it so that, as an employee, you're excited about doing those onboarding courses.
Got
So
it.
they wanted to display PDFs and PowerPoints on a web page. That was the problem.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and we were like, hey, we are building that, but we thought
Okay.
we'll do a B2C product. And that's
Mm,
where like my pivot happened. Like I was like, okay, so maybe we should actually build this for companies. It's a very straightforward. I give you this, you give me money. It's like a straightforward thing.
mhm.
That's when we pivoted. But yeah, it was pure coincidence, chance, whatever you call that.
We should have Nishant on our next podcast, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. He's in Bay Area right now, so
Oh,
you
is it
should
okay? That'll be cool to
you
catch
should
up.
do this. You should do this. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So, did you have the prototype by then? By the time you went to Mytical and you got your first customer, is that how it worked?
No, so yeah, so our goal then shifted to, okay, so if we have to give it to Myntical, what do they need? So
Hmm.
then we were like, okay, so we have this prototype of sorts. Now, how do you productize this? So now the productization of this tech became, okay, we'll have APIs,
Hmm.
we'll have a viewer.
Okay.
Now any company can, if they want to integrate with us, they can call these APIs, convert the document to a HTML, and then
Hmm.
they can put this HTML in a viewer. And then now wherever they want to put the viewer, they can. Inside a web app, inside a mobile app, doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
So the productization happened after this.
Love it. Love it. And I'm guessing one thing led to the other. There were domino effects. More B2B companies adopted you.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Yahoo.
we got some confidence. Now, it's like, you have the tech, you know how to make it into a product.
Yeah.
Then you have potential first customer in Mindtickle.
Hmm.
Then we were like, okay, so now we have all the missing pieces.
Hmm.
Let's start pitching. And we started applying to these. So we applied at NASCOM 10,000 startups. We applied for Microsoft Accelerator in India. We applied at a bunch of accelerators. Luckily we got, I mean, I'm not sure, I should call it luck or something. They found what we were working on interesting. They called us to pitch, and all this while we were still working. This we are doing this as a part-time, like
Gotcha.
on the weekend after work. So
Mm.
once we went to the pitch sessions, they were like, we'll give you some money, we'll also give you some workspace, you can join our accelerator. Then we're like, okay, this is serious, so let's, do we want to do this seriously? Then around July of 2013, we quit our jobs and started doing this full time.
Got it. And what was the path like at a high level, just to give our audience a sense for your startup? You
Yeah.
went to the accelerator, and what was the adoption phase like, and how did it scale, and how did you find Yahoo? Or how
Yeah.
did Yahoo?
So when we got into the accelerators, we still just had prototype, right? We didn't, like, we can't scale. Like, we can do a demo, but
Uh-huh.
we can't onboard a customer and scale. No, we're not at that point. So once we got into the accelerator, we used that time to, and this was the first time we were doing it full time, right? So we had pretty much all the time in a given day to build this. So we took 4 months to move from a prototype to an actual APIs are ready. We have a viewer. You can
Okay.
call it like a beta version of the whole thing working.
Mm-hmm.
Then we started cold emailing customers. So we were like, who can use this product? That was the question. Then
Yeah.
we came up with, okay, e-learning products can use us, HR tools can use us, wherever documents existed or lived.
Mm-hmm.
That was our target. So okay, so HR tools like recruiting tools, which had a lot of PDFs, e-learning products, which had a lot of these PowerPoints or PDFs again. So we identified a bunch of 3 to 4 different customer segments,
Mm-hmm.
and we just started collecting. We hired a couple of interns, started collecting, just filling these columns with just company names, and
Okay.
try to find email addresses, and just started cold emailing.
Got it.
Yeah, and within 2 3 months, we got like our first 4 to 5 customers.
Gotcha.
and our monthly revenue was around $5,000.
Nice. Okay.
One big customer we had early on was Gumroad.
Hmm.
So
What do they do?
so Gumroad is very big if you're selling digital goods. So if you
Okay.
have, let's say, a digital calendar that you want that you're selling, or a resume template, or an ebook that you self-published. So a lot of these digital goods get sold on Gumroad. So Gumroad wanted to display, a resume template that you want to buy and edit it. So they needed some sort of a preview solution,
Solution.
document preview solution. So yeah, they integrated with us. So anyway, long story short, we had 4 to 5 customers. Now we were like, we had to scale from here to
Hmm.
raise our next round. So we needed a bigger company on our website saying they're using us to get to become a real startup
Exactly.
through our connect. So we are also doing a US Bay Area trip organized by NASCOM. As part of that,
Okay.
we reached out to when we were here. We reached out to Yahoo, Dropbox, a bunch of others. We
Mhm.
gave demos to them, thinking, okay, they have documents to display, so we can, they'll become our customer. At
Got
that
it.
point, they're like, you are too small. We want to acquire you. So that's how the discussion shifted to
Okay. Okay.
acquisition.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. This is an amazing story, and somehow you figured things out on the fly, and you made all the right calls. Right? Like it's about uh, first of all solving a problem that meant something to you, and you could be passionate about it for long enough, and then
Right.
you went and found a team that is needed to solve this without going egotistical and trying to solve it all by yourself. And then
Yep.
eventually you realize that, okay, this is not the right market. I have to pivot. And even within that pivot, you were strategic about, okay, which industries will really care for us, and went after them. So it feels intuitive now that we are looking at it hindsight 20,
Right.
right? Uh,
Right.
but from your PM lens that you are today, what would you do differently now that you are more matured as a PM?
Yeah, I think like how you said, right? A lot of when I was doing it, I
Hmm.
had zero knowledge of how to do it, right? You were reading a lot of blogs, articles on the web, you're reading TechCrunch, you're meeting people in Bangalore startup ecosystem, how they're doing it. So a lot of it is subconsciously you're learning. Plus,
Hmm.
a lot of it is intuition at that time, right? Like, okay,
Right.
so you really don't know if you're on the right track or not. You're just talking to a lot of people. You pursue a few things. Something starts moving faster, then you go, okay, so this is moving faster. Let's just take that.
Mm.
Like, if I have to do a startup again, I won't probably do that. I won't probably did what I did.
Okay.
Just blindly start building.
Mm.
So I think that's as a PM as well. I think what I've learned is once I joined Yahoo is that, hey, so no, you found a problem. No, don't build.
Okay.
So, okay, you found a problem. It's just a starting point. So now you have to validate whether the problem is real, whether the
Okay.
problem exists for a large group of people, and can you actually build a business if you solve the problem? So
Sure.
at least there are 3, 4 steps before you were like, okay, so I found the problem. It makes sense. A lot of people have it. Actually I can build a solution realistically, and then okay, so and I can make a business. So now let's start building. So don't get too excited about building.
Okay.
Um, that's something that I would tell myself if I'm doing a startup right now.
Interesting. That probably is also contributed to a lot of other things that are out there where they say, okay, start building, something will happen. But there's a right mix of it, I guess. If you're coming
Exactly.
to a space, then you might
Yeah.
as well validate it versus thinking, oh, I'll go build things. Because if you are already working in a space for 5, 10 years, for example, then you already have the mental intuition of where the problem is and how to go about it. And it doesn't make sense to delay it too longer. But when you're fresh out of school, then it depends. Sometimes
Yeah.
you get lucky, but other places you have to learn it the hard way to figure out what's the right
Right.
problem to go for.
Exactly. So I think you should look at time as a resource here. So in
Mhm.
the previous, what I did in the past, I had a lot of time.
Mhm.
I was young. I had a lot of time. I can make mistakes. I can learn. So the thing with the previous approach was you there's a high chance of making mistakes,
Right.
which is good and bad. I mean, the
Mhm.
good part is like if you make mistakes, you learn, and this
Yeah.
learning is learning by doing it, right?
Hmm.
But then it needs a lot of time
Yeah.
to get onto the right path. So I spent 2.5 years b- of doing things, making mistakes, learning before actually quitting the job and then doing it full time, right?
Sure.
And if you're, let's say, post 30, 35, you're married, you have a kid, you don't have that much time. You need to be
Exactly.
more strategic about, like, okay, let's let's validate everything, make sure all of it is ready, and
Yeah.
then start. It's like a lot like cooking, right? Like
Mm.
you just start cooking versus like you're getting all the ingredients. First you shop, you get ingredients in place, you cut them up, keep it ready, and then start cooking. The
Yeah.
higher chance of success, I would say.
Fair call. Fair call. That makes sense. And if I may ask, like, are you still working on BookPad at Yahoo, or like what happened to BookPad after you got acquired by Yahoo?
Yeah, so the reason why Yahoo wanted to acquire us was email had a lot of document attachments, and
Yeah.
you want to show them, you want to start give them some collaboration tools. So they acquired us. We integrated whatever we built into Yahoo Mail. We took a year to rewrite things, integrate into their system, their backend, scale things up. So we did that for a year. We launched,
Hmm.
and then post that, I kind of took up different projects inside the company. The other team members took up different projects. So yeah, so it's still right now our whatever we build powers the whole document viewing experience inside Yahoo Mail.
Yeah.
Um, it's but I'm working on other things.
Makes sense. I mean, how often will people get to say that my product is used by a billion people, right? So, like, it's one
Yeah,
of those
yeah,
one-time hit where you got
yeah.
integrated into one of the most powerful tools, and now it's used by everyone.
Yeah, no, for sure. The billion number is actually very close. Like it's being used close to a billion times a month right now. So,
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah, very happy with like the outcome of it. But yeah, but not actively involved in it right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And shifting gears a little bit again for the sake of our audience, right? If you think about it, product managers who come into the industry, they're given this saying, "Oh, a product manager is like a CEO of a product," and you have been on both sides. So, help us weigh in on that quote saying a product manager is like a CEO. Would you agree? If yes, what aspects of it? If no, what aspects of it?
Yeah, I would. I mean, initially, this is a very, very populist view, right? Now, I 100% disagree with that because product building is a team sport, 100% team sport. Like, your role is you're helping make the right decisions
Yeah,
as a product manager. Like, okay, what problem to solve, why you're solving it, what's the right like, your team will work on multiple solutions, but you work with your team to pick the right one, right? Like,
yeah,
and then you get it built, you get it launched. At any given point in time, you're working with your team, and then but you're thinking about only your product. You're not thinking about macro stuff. You're not thinking about the market. I mean, depends on what you're building, of course, but most times you're just solving that one problem in a bigger puzzle.
yeah,
If a CEO job is much more than that, right? It's like you're looking at people management, you're looking at all of that. There's so many things that a CEO needs to do.
yeah.
I would say you're the product manager of that product. That's it. You're not the CEO. You're not the CEO. I think product manager itself, I think, is a very good definition.
Yeah, someone had to make it flashy for people to buy into that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we agree. Like when between Shruti and I, we were calling this one of the popular myths about product management.
Yeah.
Uh, to your point, initially it's a lot of grunt work. I don't
Yeah.
know if you watched the show Ted Lasso on Apple.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it reminds me a lot of Ted Lasso. It's almost like you're trying to
Yeah.
get the best out of everyone, but
Right.
before they start buying into your philosophies, you have to win their trust. In the
Yeah.
show, it's easy, but in real
Correct.
life, you're doing the grunt work in the early days to form those relationships with everyone so that eventually
Yeah.
they're all buying into your vision. And even though I disagree with it being anything like CEO in the initial days, as you grow up the ranks, eventually you might be responsible for a similar kind of portfolio where you are expected to look at the market trends, where you are expected to understand what's happening with the internal dynamics of the company, and then marry it to your vision and take it in the right path, right? But yeah,
Right.
initially, no way close. I agree.
I agree, 100%, 100%. I mean, yeah, senior, if you're a PM, senior PM, the more you grow, like how you said, right, you're closer to, yeah, being a CEO of that ecosystem of products. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Without the pressure of it, right? Like again, if you take out
Right.
the money aspect of it, if you take out the front face of that product, like the pressure is gone, and then you're able to operate a
Yep.
little bit different. There's still going to be
Yep.
differences. But
Yep.
that being said, Adi, like speaking of product managers, one of the things that we believe is like you have the multifaceted approach to problem solving, which can
Mhm.
come handy as you grow into your own startups in the long term, right? So for people who are pursuing their dreams or who want to pursue their dreams and who begin their careers as product managers, do you have any sort of recommendations that they should build on top of and the things that they should be wary of as they make this transition?
Yeah, I think empathy. I think it's very underrated. Doesn't get spoken about a lot, but I think if you are early in your career, um, try building your empathy. Empathy towards other people, situations. Right, you
Mhm.
need to be able to translate yourself well into, okay, so if someone has a problem, how much of that do you feel yourself, without actually being in that situation yourself? How much of it can you understand
Yeah,
without judging? So I think that capability and how easily can you do that makes your life easy if you are doing a startup.
sure.
um, because at that point in time, you again, you're I mean, being a product manager itself is a lot of people interaction. You have to interact with a lot of teams, a lot of, you're kind of the nerve center between, the work that's happening. You have to
Sure.
anyway be good at working with people.
Hmm.
This skill set of, being able to empathize will help that. It becomes a superpower. You will be able to understand problems. You'll be able to pick problems that you want to solve very easily. Because you can empathize very well, you can come up with better solutions. So I
Yeah,
think it's net everything is super beneficial if you get this skill set, if you grow this. I mean, you might already have it, but there, you need to keep growing it to a point where, like, it comes very naturally to you. That's one. The second thing I think I would uh, tell myself is not get too excited or attached to a problem.
hmm,
um, uh, be very, very, because you have finite set of amount of resources in everything: time, money, energy, all of that. You want to pick the right problem. You want to pick the right reason for solving it.
okay.
All of that. So be judicious. That's the second quality that can help you. Um, yeah, these two things. So I would identify these two higher than others.
I love that. I love that. To your point, the tactical stuff can be learned. You can
Yeah.
get away with making some mistakes, but in order to go after the right problem or solving it the right way, having
Hmm.
that empathy, but also being effective in terms of that decision making. I mean, I feel like empathy is spoken a lot in our podcast between me, Shruti, and every other speaker that comes in. And I feel like that's the common pattern. Like product management, even if you, in most cases, if you're empathetic, you'll make a great product manager. But if you get into this endeavor of becoming a great product manager, the trade will teach you to become more empathetic.
Yeah, yeah, and then I have a few tricks for empathy, particularly. I personally observed this is that, yeah, I think you should step away from your life for a bit whenever you get the chance. What I mean
Mm.
by that is, like, you keep doing things that you like generally, right, in your day to day.
Yeah,
You go to the grocery store that you like. You go drink the coffee that you like. You go eat the food that you like.
yeah,
You meet with people you like. So all of this is like your comfort zone, right? When you're in your comfort zone, you don't empathize typically.
true.
You have to step out of your comfort zone. And a couple of things that will force you is traveling. If you travel, you're out of your comfort zone. You have to eat the things that is available to you, in a
Yeah.
different city. You have to interact with people who are speaking a different language, right? So it literally forces you to empathize, or at least feel discomfort. Then the second and another trick, of course, traveling, you can't do it all the time. The
Mm.
other thing is getting a pet.
Mm.
If you get a pet, it forces you to think differently again, because the pet doesn't understand the language you're talking. It doesn't
Right.
eat the same food you're eating. Has different requirements than a human being. So a pet would help you again. Even not your own pet. You go to a friend who has a pet. Spend
Yeah.
some time with a dog or a cat. You'll see, like, okay, you're out of your comfort zone. You'll notice things better.
Hey, I love those tricks actually because it's fun. You're now giving multiple reasons for people who are contemplating, oh, if I should do this travel over a weekend, and like, yeah, it's connected to
Yeah.
your long-term product management career, man.
Yeah, it gives you superpowers if you can use it well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the overarching framework of it's almost like intentional chaos into your existing calm life. Like you're comfortable with something,
Yeah.
break it, not to the
Break
point
it.
where you're questioning, okay, what is happening,
Exactly.
but at least that 10%, 20% innovation that you have a buffer for in product, treat yourself as a product and say, okay, I have to be more effective. Let's see if there's any way I can improve, test it out, and then have a learning out of it. Right? That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. We are hitting the 1 hour mark. This was so much fun, man. We should definitely catch up. And to summarize, you're on to your next big thing. And if people in the audience, if you're interested, do reach out to Adi. I'm going to right after this call to see what's going on. But that was a lot of
Yeah.
fun, Adi. Really appreciate it because we
Yeah.
needed a
Same here.
view
Yeah.
for people who did not know much, but had the guts to go and figure things out. So it's really helpful for people who might be in that part of the career. Of, do I go after my idea? Do I do product management? Am I doing product management? Do I go after my idea? It doesn't matter. Everything that you spoke is going to strike a chord for someone or the other. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you gave me this chance to talk about my journey, and I'm very happy if someone watching this has questions. Feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to engage in some sort of a dialogue. So yeah, but thanks for having me here, Nishant.